Chinese state media says the three-person crew of the Shenzhou 16 space capsule has landed back on Earth. They completed a 5-month mission to the Tiangong space station and landed safely in the Gobi Desert in Inner Mongolia.
Saudi Arabia appears all but certain to host the Men's Football World Cup in 2034. With only hours to go before a deadline for declarations of interest, Australia has decided against bidding to stage the tournament. Flags have been lowered to fly half-mast in Beijing as China prepares for the funeral of Li Keqiang, a reform-minded bureaucrat once tipped as future leader, only to be eclipsed by the rise of Xi Jinping.
North Korea has announced that November the 18th will now be known as Missile Industry Day to commemorate the test firing of an intercontinental ballistic missile. There are already a number of holidays and special days linked to the military.
Regulators in Britain have given the airline Virgin Atlantic permission to make the first transatlantic flight using 100% sustainable aviation fuel. It's produced from byproducts such as agricultural waste and used cooking oil.
The office-sharing company WeWork has filed for bankruptcy in the United States. The firm was known for renting on flexible terms to startups and freelancers. It had expanded rapidly, but struggled during the COVID pandemic.
Temperature data suggests that this year is virtually certain to be the warmest on record, following an exceptionally hot October. The European Union's Climate Change Service reports that average global air temperatures were 0.4 degrees warmer than the previous high set in October 2019.
People in some of the world's poorest and most troubled countries have been found to be the most charitable. The World Giving Index says Indonesians, Ukrainians and Kenyans are most likely to donate to charity, help a stranger or volunteer their time.
The Beatles have reached number 1 in the UK singles chart with their latest song, making history as the artist with the longest gap between the first and last number 1 hits. The last time they topped the charts was in 1969.
The Australian telecom firm Optus has blamed a blackout in its services last week on a routine software upgrade. The outage lasted for more than 12 hours and affected 40% of Australians.
The former British Prime Minister David Cameron's been appointed Foreign Secretary 7 years after he resigned following the Brexit referendum he'd called. Mr Cameron said he had in the past disagreed with some decisions by the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, but wanted to help him deliver security and prosperity.
Researchers say artificial intelligence can predict some extreme weather events earlier than traditional forecasting systems. An AI tool developed by Google DeepMind predicted where a recent hurricane would make landfall in Canada 3 days ahead of conventional methods.
The United States and China have agreed to resume direct contact between their militaries. President Biden made the announcement after meeting the Chinese leader Xi Jinping in San Francisco. Mr. Xi said Beijing was ready to be a friend and partner to Washington.
Sam Altman, the chief executive and co-founder of the American company that launched ChatGPT, has said he's shocked and saddened by his abrupt dismissal. The board of OpenAI accused him of a failure to be candid in his communications.
Microsoft says the co-founders of the tech firm OpenAI, Sam Altman and Greg Brockman, will be joining it to lead a new advanced artificial intelligence team. Both men fell out with OpenAI after the board dismissed Sam Altman for what it described as a lack of candour. South Korea is to resume some tours of the demilitarised zone, its highly fortified border with the north. These had been cancelled in July after the American soldier Travis King fled to North Korea. Days after his surprise sacking, Sam Altman is returning as chief executive of the artificial intelligence firm OpenAI. He was fired by the company's board on Friday and joined Microsoft. The decision triggered a revolt by staff.
South Korean military sources say North Korea has made a failed attempt to launch a ballistic missile. It was fired from Pyongyang towards the sea late on Wednesday.
And in football, the Manchester City striker Erling Haaland has become the fastest player to score 50 goals in the English Premier League. The forward reached the milestone figure in 48 games. The previous record was set by the former Manchester United striker Andrew Cole.
As international pressure grows for the temporary truce in Gaza to continue, Egyptian security sources say negotiators are close to achieving a 2-day extension. The Israeli government has said that Hamas has been presented with an option to extend the truce.
Australia has announced a ban on importing disposable vapes from January. The Health Minister, Mark Butler, said vaping was sold as a tool to quit smoking, but warned there was a disturbing increase in vaping among young people.
Sweden says it's been assured that its application to join NATO will be ratified by Turkey in a matter of weeks. The process has been held up by Turkey and also Hungary, with Turkey demanding that Sweden take tougher action against Kurdish separatists there.
시청해 주셔서 감사합니다. 다음 시간에 뵙겠습니다.